Hollywood didn't just wake up to drama this week. It woke up to a disappearance. 1 minute Teyana Taylor and Pierre looked like the most private, polished, unbothered couple in the industry. The next minute, proof gone, photos deleted, tags removed, appearances cancelled. Like somebody hit Control-Alt-Delete on an entire relationship. No breakup post. No, we're still friends. No soft launch of healing energy. Just silence. And if you know anything about celebrities, you know silence is never random. So what happened? Why did Teyana suddenly scrub this man from her life like he never existed? Why were brands quietly backing away within hours? And why are insiders whispering that what she discovered wasn't just cheating? It was something way bigger, way messier, and way more embarrassing for Hollywood's golden boy? Because here's where it gets crazy. Late night. Overseas party. No cameras allowed. One blurry photo leaks anyway. 2 figures. Too close. Too comfortable. One of them looks exactly like Aaron. Suddenly, the perfect boyfriend image starts cracking. Suddenly, old interviews sound suspicious. Suddenly, Teyana's cold, calculated exit doesn't look emotional. It looks strategic, like she didn't leave. Heartbroken, she left informed. So the question isn't did they break up, the question is, what secret was so explosive that Teyana walked away without saying a single word? Buckle up. This story gets wild fast. At first, nobody wanted to believe it because from the outside Teyana Taylor and Pierre looked untouchable. Like one of those quiet celebrity pairings that moves in designer silence while the rest of Hollywood burns down in public. No messy lives, no shitty tweets. No screaming paparazzi moments, just elegance, mystery, and those perfectly curated red carpet shots that make you think, wow, maybe real love still exists in this industry. That was the image. That was the fantasy. And for months the internet ate it up like dessert. Every time they stepped out together, blogs called them classy, mature, different. Aaron was painted as the calm, intellectual actor with depth and discipline. Teyana was the powerhouse queen who had already survived every industry betrayal imaginable. Together they looked balanced, almost too balanced, like a PR dream team straight out of a branding textbook. But here's the thing about couples that look too perfect. They usually are. Too perfect to be natural. Too smooth to be real. And behind that polished surface, whispers had already started. Quiet ones. The kind assistants talk about in hallways. The kind stylists joke about after fittings. Little comments like he's never around when cameras are off, or funny how he disappears at certain parties, or why does she always show up alone to private events? Nothing concrete. Nothing you could post. Just vibes. And in Hollywood, vibes are everything. Sources close to a recent Fashion Week event said Aaron arrived solo, left solo, and spent most of the night in deep conversations with a tight circle of industry insiders while Teyana was across town hosting her own after-party. Strange for a couple that was supposedly inseparable. Then there were the interviews. Go back and watch them. Seriously. Every time someone asked Aaron about his personal life, he got weirdly poetic. Never direct. Never specific. Lots of lines like love is fluid, or I don't label myself, or I value privacy over everything. At first it sounded artsy and mysterious. Now people are like, hold on, was that mystery or was that deflection? Meanwhile, Teyana kept it real like always, talking about loyalty, partnership, building something solid. 2 completely different energies. One grounded. One evasive. And the contrast started to feel louder the more you looked. Then came the scheduling drama. Last summer the two were rumored to take a romantic trip to Europe. Flights booked. Hotels locked in. Friends knew. Suddenly cancelled. Aaron claimed a last-minute film commitment overseas. Sounds professional, right? Except insiders later said he never showed up to that set. No call time. No scenes. No paperwork. So where did he go? Nobody had an answer. Just more silence. And every time Teyana asked questions, according to someone from her extended team, he always had the smoothest excuses. Meetings ran late. Phone died. Private dinners with producers. You know, the classic Hollywood smoke tricks. The kind that sound reasonable until you stack them together and realize nothing lines up. Still, Teyana stayed. Because sometimes when you love someone, you convince yourself you're overthinking. You tell yourself you're being paranoid. You tell yourself privacy is maturity. But sometimes privacy is just a very pretty word for hiding. And that's where things started getting uncomfortable. Stylists noticed he rarely posted her. Friends noticed he kept his circle separate. Brand reps noticed he preferred solo appearances for campaigns that were originally pitched as couple moments. Small details. Tiny red flags. The kind you ignore until one day they all form a giant neon sign screaming "Wake up." And then the bomb dropped. Not a press release. Not a scandal blog. A random late-night message from someone who claimed to have seen Aaron overseas at a private after-party that wasn't exactly couple-friendly. No Teyana. No team. Just him and a very exclusive guest list full of industry elites who specialize in keeping secrets buried. At first, it sounded like gossip. Hollywood is full of gossip. But then another person said the same thing. Then another. Suddenly, 3 separate sources were describing the exact same night. Same villa, same crowd, same strange energy. And that's when people close to Teyana say her tone changed. She stopped defending him, stopped explaining, stopped posting. Instead, she went quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet you get when you're not confused anymore. When you've already connected the dots and you're just waiting for proof. Because sometimes intuition hits before evidence does. And according to one insider, she had that gut feeling for weeks. Something wasn't adding up. Something felt staged. Like she was in a relationship that looked real on camera but hollow behind the scenes. Like she was loving someone who was only half present. And the scary part, that feeling turned out to be right. Because the very next thing that surfaced would change. Everything to make all those little red flags look like warning sirens stop, because the very next thing that surface would change everything and make all those little red flags look like warning sirens. It started with something so small most people would have ignored it. Just a blurry photo posted at 3 in the morning by a stylist who clearly had one drink too many and 0 patience left. A messy Instagram story that stayed up for maybe 12 minutes before vanishing. But 12 minutes on the internet is basically a lifetime, and screenshots travel faster than shame. The photo was grainy, dim lighting. Some overseas after-party that looked like rich people nonsense, champagne towers, velvet couches. The kind of place where NDAs are probably handed out with the cocktails. And in the corner were 2 figures standing way too close for comfort. Not just talking, not just laughing, but leaning into each other with that soft body language you only use when you think nobody's watching. One of them looked exactly like Aaron. Same build, same haircut, same posture. The other guy, some well-dressed industry insider type, hand resting low on Aaron's back like it belonged there. And listen, normally you could shrug that off. Friends stand close. People hug. Hollywood is weird. But this didn't look casual. This looked intimate. The kind of intimate you don't explain away with bro energy. Within minutes, fan pages zoomed in, enhanced brightness, circled silhouettes like it was a crime documentary. Side-by-side comparisons started popping up. Same jacket. Same rings. Same damn boots Aaron wore earlier that week. Suddenly, it wasn't just a random guy. It was him, allegedly. And here's where the energy shifted from gossip to panic. Because instead of laughing it off or posting some cute couple selfie with Teyana the next day like a normal damage control move, Aaron went ghost. No posts, no stories. No public sightings. Dead silence. And in Hollywood, silence is basically a confession with better lighting. Meanwhile, Teyana didn't cry online, didn't defend him, didn't even acknowledge his existence. She simply erased him. I'm talking surgical level erasure. Joint photos gone. Old captions edited. Tags removed. Brand campaigns quietly updated. It was like watching someone wipe fingerprints off a crime scene. Fans noticed fast. They always do. One minute her page had years of memories. The next minute it looked like Aaron had never stepped foot in her life. And people started asking the obvious question. Who deletes that fast unless they already knew something was coming? Then came the so-called investigative threads. You know, the internet detectives with too much caffeine and too much time. They dug into everything. Flight logs, event guest lists, old party photos. And guess what kept popping up? Aaron at exclusive invite-only gatherings without Teyana. Same small circle. Same mystery man appearing in the background like a Where's Waldo nobody wanted to find. Different countries. Same duo. That's when an anonymous source, allegedly someone who worked with Aaron on a recent campaign, dropped a bomb in a group chat that later leaked. They claimed this wasn't new behavior. They said people in his team had been quietly managing rumors for months, paying off bloggers, calling in favors, labeling everything as misunderstandings. Basically professional cleanup duty. And suddenly the narrative got uglier. Because now it wasn't just about a possible secret relationship. Show timelines of appearances, charity galas, red carpets. Fashion weeks all mapped out with Teyana's name next to. Aaron's like they were co-stars in a movie called Happy Couple, and the wild part is some of those events lined up exactly with moments fans used to call relationship milestones, anniversaries, trips. Surprise dates. Turns out half of it may have just been optics, and if that email is even half real, then this was not romance. This was choreography and suddenly old memories. Hit different. That handhold at the awards show looked staged. That kiss for the cameras looked timed. That interview where he called her my piece started sounding like a line read off a cue card, and the internet went from curious to furious because nobody likes feeling played, not the fans, not the brands, and definitely not Teyana. And insiders say that once her legal team saw those alleged documents, everything switched from heartbreak mode to protection mode. Calls were made, contracts reviewed, projects separated, lawyers talking in that calm, scary voice rich people use when they're about to ruin your month, and brands started backing away fast. One campaign quietly replaced Aaron's photos, another postponed his feature interview, a third removed his name entirely like he was never booked in the first place. Because here is the truth. Hollywood does not fear scandal, it fears liability, and Aaron suddenly looked like both. Meanwhile, Teyana did the exact opposite of what everyone expected. She did not rant, she did not cry on live, she did not drop a diss track, she simply leveled up. New photo shoots, new meetings, new energy. Walking around like someone who already processed the betrayal and filed it under lesson learned. And that calmness drove people crazy, because nothing is louder than a woman who refuses to crash out. One post in particular broke the internet. Just her standing on a balcony robe, flowing city lights behind her, caption: peace feels different when you stop forcing what is not real. No names, no shade, just a quiet mic drop, and fans treated it like scripture because while Aaron was scrambling, she was glowing. And the contrast was brutal. Then came the so-called witnesses, a former assistant claiming they always thought the relationship felt scripted, a stylist hinting that certain outfits were coordinated for couple branding, a junior publicist saying off the record that they were told to redirect any personal life questions during press. Like, come on. That is not normal boyfriend behavior, that is crisis management. And the more people talk, the worse. It looked like this was never two people falling in love. It was one person loving and the other person surviving on borrowed time and borrowed image. And the final punch came when a short voice memo allegedly leaked online. Nothing dramatic, just Aaron sounding tired, telling a friend, sometimes you have to play the part until things settle down. Play the part. That phrase alone was enough to torch whatever sympathy he had left, because nobody wants to hear that the relationship they rooted for was just a role in somebody else's career strategy. And from that moment, the public verdict was basically done, not because of who he might be or what his truth is, but because of how he handled it. Because honesty earns respect, deception burns bridges, and Teyana, for all her silence, somehow came out looking stronger than ever, like she dodged a bullet the size of a Netflix documentary. And now the industry is watching closely, because if this really was a manufactured romance, then how many others are too? How many smiling couples are just contracts? How many anniversaries are just launch dates? And how many people are being used as shields while somebody else protects their market value? And that is the question nobody in Hollywood wants answered, but everyone is suddenly asking. And as for Aaron, sources say he has gone quiet, quiet, skipping events, dodging cameras, maybe waiting for the storm to pass. But storms like this do not pass, they expose. And the more that surfaces, the clearer it becomes that Teyana did not lose anything, she escaped. And sometimes the most powerful revenge is not clapping back, it is walking away so clean that the other person has to explain themselves forever. If you think this story is deeper than Hollywood is admitting, drop your thoughts below and tell me who you really believe. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next leak might change everything overnight.